Nope. Oh, I don't know. Give me 1 sec. I'm in my bed. I just need to change my camera around. Is there a way of doing that? 1 sec. You don't want to look at my feet all night, do you? Right, let me see. Yeah, there we go. That's not so bad, is it? So, give me a thumbs up, everyone, if you can see me in the chat. And I'll explain to you what I'm doing. Hopefully you can see me and you can hear me okay. I'm just going to carry on as if you can, because Joe will message me any second if you can't. But yeah, hi Susan, hi Michelle, hi Piglet, hi Dave. Thanks for my book of folklore, Dave. It was ace. I absolutely loved it. So let me tell you why I'm here tonight. 2 things really. A, I'm working on a new device. No one can see me, Margaret, at the moment. I'm stuck in bed. So I don't know how to change the camera around so you can see my face. So rather than you having to look at my duvet, I thought it'd be better to just make it blank. And you don't really need to see me for tonight. I need your thoughts, really. I'm trying out it's not a new laptop, but it's a new app that I can use, and it really saves on my hand, and I don't have to flick between devices. So I'm really hoping that you guys can see me fine. Hear me fine, sorry. And if you can, I can work it this way all of the time, because it's much easier for me. Everything's in the one place. Please come in if you're in chat, if you're a newcomer. Don't worry, we're a very friendly bunch, and Joe is there to get rid of any trouble causes or anything like that. And if you're an enemy or a friend, just come in, because I need your information. Steve, as you know, Fred's carer, sent me an email today, and it really triggered my investigative, what would you call it? When I get a sniff or something, then I'm on it. I think it's my ADHD. Steve described what you would call a Gug Wose. And when he said it, I thought, that's a cracking way of describing it. I have heard of the Gugwe. And from what I know of it, it's a baboon type of looking creature. Now, I know that I'm not 100% on that. The only case I've worked like that out of the UK is the Beast of Seven Shoots. And that is a very tall, 7 foot tall, dark reddish haired creature. Hi, Bella. With a long, not a long snout, not like a dog, more like a baboon. So Steve and me chat backwards and forwards all of the time in email. And he said to me, Deb, how many reports have you got in the UK that mention a baboon? So I was like, well, actually quite a few of them. So I've sent them over to Steve because he wants to have a look on the map and see if there's a pattern, because you realise that most of the Gugwe reports in America are central, running down the centre. And I think with just the few that I pulled out tonight, hi Sober, that in the UK they might be closer to the coast, but I'm not 100%. So what I'm asking for is, if you've got any information on a Gugwe creature yourself, if you've heard it mentioned on a podcast, you know of a better description, habits, behaviour, pop them in the chat for me, because this chat will save, or pop them in the comment section after the live ends. So basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to be helping me write a podcast on Gug Wose, which would be the UK equivalent of Gugwe. So if you're here to just chat with your mates, put me on silent and have a real good chat in the chat. I must have had 200 messages in the last 2 weeks alone saying, please, Deb, more lives. Please, more lives. I really didn't know you liked them that much. Honestly, I thought, who's going to want to listen to me waffling on? And then some people have said to me, it's the only time I get to speak to other people about the subjects I like. So I've been encouraging other members who don't normally YouTube to just come in and jump in the lives with us, because you can ask if there's people in your area who want to team up and go out for a brew, for a walk around the woods, walk the dog, or you can if I do them regular, you'll get to meet people in the lives each week and you build up a relationship, don't you? And that's what we used to do. Excellent news. Our Deb Singleton is becoming to join me next Tuesday. I think I'm going to do one official BBR one each month, try and get Deb and Stu on with us, and we'll cover a subject. But these kind of things I can do. I would now, I've been in bed all day, my legs are really bad today. So what I would do now is I'd sit in bed and I'd start looking for other cases, A, that I've got, or B, that are out there in the world, and see anything I can find on a Gugwe, right? And I'm thinking, I've got all those followers out there who probably, like Steve, have information on this creature. Why don't I just ask for help? You know, because the things are getting... Now, somebody else has mentioned Duke from World Bigfoot Radio to me, Billy, and I thought I'd send him a message or ask him if he'd come onto the show and let me interview him. I think that's a cracking idea. So I've made a note of that to get in touch with him tomorrow. I'm also going to sit down tomorrow and read this chat back so that if anyone's got any information they want to pop in, any podcast you think I should listen to, anything like that, it'd be really, really helpful. Mark is in the chat. If you're not in the chat and you're listening to this back on the replay, he's looking for people in the Rhondda area. I take it that's the Rhondda Valley, Mark. Anywhere around that kind of area, to team up, or to just to get together for a brew, go out for a bit of an investigation, whatever you guys feel like doing. I could be, I nearly said grounder for crypt. I can't say that, can I? Grinder for crypt is bloody hell, Deb. Yeah, what can I call it? Plenty of cryptids. Right. See, all you're going to look at now is me bed. There's me bed. There's that doll, Joey, ready? That's where she sits over there, next to me haunted Victorian bowl, as the kids call it, and my haunted mirror. None of them are haunted. But yeah, I'll work out how to flick my camera around next time so you can see me face. So no Roy in here today, no Matt there in the front room. He's having a bit of a break. He's been having to get me up and down. My vertigo is beyond it. But yesterday I went to see a specialist in vertigo. The worry I had, my mum got Meniere's disease in her 50s. And I watched the 50s just spend a life on the couch with her head spinning. And I was absolutely terrified that was my future. But I went to see a specialist yesterday and he said it's quite normal to get, because I've had 2 accidents in the last, we had one in April and one in November. And both times the car was stationary. The first time in April, just a car came bowling at us from nowhere and just ran right into the side of us. Didn't try moving, didn't try averting, and took off. And we never found out who that person was. So obviously we had to pay for all that and everything. So the last thing I was thinking about in April was my injuries. So then in November, we're on a really busy dual carriageway, parked up at the lights, and wham, this car just come from behind us, an Audi. It was full on in the back. And on both occasions, my head whipped back and forwards, right? Hi, Steve. I am so glad you're here. You're the reason for tonight's live. So physio said to me, don't worry about it, Deb. It's quite normal. It's like shaken baby syndrome. Your brain's had a bit of a knock and it can affect the membranes in your neck. So the whiplash that I've got, which is not great, I'm going to be honest, is probably causing it, which means that it will die off, which is just, I'm all right with that. I can live with that. As long as I know there's a light at the end of the tunnel, it's giving me certain kind of exercises to do and they're going to send me to a specialist to see. And people keep saying to me, oh, Deb, it must be driving you mad. I've been trying to get the NHS to fix my broken thumb for 10 years. So for 10 years, I've been walking around with a broken scaphoid. And every time they try and fix it, it falls apart again. So these 2 accidents, in a way, might be a blessing in disguise. Because when they did the MRI scan on me, they said they've been trying to fix it wrong the whole time. What they want to do is just fuse it. So I'd not be able to use the thumb again, but I wouldn't have the pain. And that would be massive. So I could come off a lot more painkillers and hence, get better and carry on forward. Hi, Jonesy. And just carry on forward like that. But less of that, bloody hell, like an old woman at a bus stop. Let's get back to Gugwe's. But what I was trying to get at means I end up stuck in bed a lot. And people don't seem to realise that. So if I'm stuck in bed bored and you lot are stuck in bed bored, I might as well stick the live on answer. So if you're a regular listener and you think, I can't keep up with these lives, Deb, that's absolutely fine. They're not compulsory. I'm trying to cater to everyone, I think. Some people just love the Saturday premiere, right? They just listen to it. That's it. They don't take part in the chat. That goes out at 8 o'clock every Saturday. Rain, hail, or snow, regardless of where I am in the world, that will always be the same. I've even written that into 2 contracts. That on a Saturday at 8 o'clock, I am busy, right, doing my BBR stuff, because that's where I started, and I'm keeping my feet on the ground with that one. Other people just like a quick 10-minute video. So I'm thinking, right, I'll put the small experiences out, small in length, not in fear. Put them out for the people who just like the 10-minute one. And for people who like the lives, I'll try and do 2 a week if I can. But if it's like this and I can ask you questions and get input back, yeah, that's brilliant for me, because it saves me answering 100 emails. Does that make sense? So tomorrow I can just sit down and look at the chat and pull out the bits that you're telling me, and work on them. So this is not what I put together. This is what somebody else has put together. And it's just a brief kind of the folklore of a Gugwe, and I guarantee you that it's not going to be perfect. It's probably going to be wrong, but I'm going to read it out anyway, and then you can correct me. Pop in the comments, pop me an email, pop in the live chat. Let me know where I've gone wrong on this, because this isn't mine. I pulled it off a blog, and it says the Gugwe, or face eater, head eater, in Mi'kmaq is a cryptid often lumped together with Bigfoot or Dogman. Gugwe are 6 to 7.5 feet tall and usually are knuckle walking, or they occasionally walk bipedally. So you didn't know that. Lots and lots of reports in the UK of something down on its knuckles, aren't they, Steve? They have grey, white, or black hair, and their body resembles a chimp's, although their head resembles a gorilla with a baboon-like face and snout. That instantly takes me to Murray, the animal that was shot on the farm, had a baboon-like face. Gugwes inhabit dense and remote arboreal forests, mainly in Quebec and Labrador, although their range includes Ontario. Well, wouldn't I be right in saying that they're also an American thing? Because they're in Native American culture. It said in folklore, if a human goes into a Gugwe's territory, the Gugwe will decapitate and eat their head and leave behind their corpse. On taking it, they're highly aggressive. Although this sounds far-fetched, many cases of this have occurred, especially in the Nahanni Valley in Northwestern Territories. Like I say, I only know the Beast of Seven Shoots. I'm going to type that into the chat for anybody who doesn't know that. Go and look it up. I've actually spoke to the man who took the photograph. He was a French-speaking man, and my French is dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. So I couldn't pull out the detail that I wanted to pull out. So I had to use Google Translate, and that is just useless. But the description of the Beast of Seven Shoots is basically an upright baboon, in all honesty, I would say. See, Steve said the same. Steve said to me that they are central to USA. So the person who's wrote this blog might not know that. I haven't checked the date on it, actually. Let me have a look. I just did a really quick Google search, because that's what I would normally do at home. I'm not doing let me see, 2002. So possibly may not know. Right. So it says the Beast of Seven Shoots photograph is one of the few alleged photographs of a Gugwe. The photograph zoomed in is quite blurry, so it's difficult to make out anything. The photo was taken by a man named Louis in June 1995 in Parc des Sept-Chutes, Quebec. Parc des Sept-Chutes is it's a protected forest, I think, the Tremblant National Park. The photograph appears to show an ape-like creature with a snout and a reddish sagittal crest, so that's that bone on the top of the head, similar to a gorilla looking at the camera. Some claim to see the creature holding something, which some speculate might be a white dog or a fox. It looks to me like it's holding something. Since the exact location of the photo is known, researchers have been to the spot where the creature was seen, and they're saying that it's a similar height to a human. But my son-in-law's 6'5". So that's, compared to me at 5'2", he's an absolute giant, you know. So when people say in human range, you're going to hear my phone pinging a lot. When people say in human range, yeah, that could be 6'5", 6'6". That's bloody tall when you're my size. Yeah, I've just got an answer that's important. My daughter asking me about boxing gym for my grandson. Yeah, sign him up. Sign kids up to anything they want to go to. That's my my advice for anyone who's out there. Your kids want to go and try something, let them try it. Nobody went boxing in the 73. I was 5 when I went. No girls went boxing back then, and my dad took me. And they said I wasn't allowed to go, so my dad said, yes, she is allowed to go, and I went. And by the time I was like 11 or 12, I was really good at it. But back then, females couldn't fight. Couldn't get a license to fight. There was nothing. Jane Crouch was one of my heroes growing up. She was an amazing box. She was like, like the lionesses now are something you can aspire to if you're a girl. Well, that was Jane Crouch for me. I think she was from Preston, if I remember rightly. She beat the crap out of a British interviewer on telly one night, I remember. Dudley. Oh, what were he called? Can't remember now. But yeah, that's saying the Beast of Seven Shoots. Now, I can't put images up on here, can I? Will it let me screen share? Let's have a look. If it'll let me screen share. No. So yeah, what I'm thinking now is I need to be looking at more than Baboon reports, don't I? Because they mentioned in there. Can it find it again, Deb? Knuckle walking. So I need to look at that. I need to look at the Bearman reports that are in England, aren't I? Don't I really? And sagittal crest, because we do have gorilla reports. Let's get the map up and see. See, what I'd like to do is put some possible reports together that could fit this description of the Gugwe. So, knuckle walking, crest on top of head, gorilla or baboon looking. So we're definitely looking for a bit of a snout, aren't we? I wouldn't say a gorilla has a snout, would you? I would say they are more ape looking, but maybe they mean build and stance and the way it is. Hi Philip, thanks for joining us. So I think I shall start looking at them. So Steve said the first time I heard of them was on Brenton Sarwin's channel, and they seemed protective of this young girl witness, right? So not just, let's be honest, right? If you're out in the middle of a Canadian wilderness in the middle of nowhere and you see a 6.5-foot creature that looks like a baboon walking towards you, you're going to be terrified, aren't you? Whether you know it's malevolent or benevolent, you wouldn't know, would you? You're just going to be absolutely terrified. I think that's understandable. And like you say, the chap who's wrote this one, he's only really wrote about the Quebec area, hasn't he? He said that's where they stop. I knew that they spoke about them in Native Legend because I've read it. I remember reading it. But I'd never put it together with the baboon cases until you mentioned it in the email last year. So it was like, when you said a Gug Wose, I thought that is an absolutely amazing way of put it, because we've even got accounts that mention monkey-faced shucks. And that was a police inspector who made that report. Hi, Lally. He said it was down on all fours. I'll pull it up. Thickly muscled. Monkey-faced. Let me get it. Yeah, he said it was incredibly muscular, all black in colour, but it had the like the face of a monkey, so he's called it the monkey face shuck. That is a strange description. So let me put in baboon, see what comes up. So we got the ape-like beast of Brassknocker Hill. That was in 1798, but there were other occurring incidents after that. We've got the Eildon baboon, and that's 2011. And I think, if I'm right, Eildon's very close to Thetford Forest. Then in Ayrshire, we've got the Ayrshire baboon, and that was people on the who were driving had seen it, and a couple of police officers had seen it. Then what's this one in the King's Forest? Why have I put a note on that? This is Thetford. A BBR member was contacted by a friend who was out walking in the Wardwell area. The lady, who was accompanied by her parents and her dogs, came across this gruesome find this afternoon. They were walking in the King's Forest, Suffolk. The track was clear and the deer wasn't there on the way in. It was, however, in their path on the way out. Her parents were a little put out by the find, which is completely understandable. It is literally the top of a deer's head that has been ripped, and I can't show you the photo because I can't put it up. The image is shocking and appears to show a young deer whose face and jaw had been completely bitten through. There were no drag marks or signs of disturbance, tyre tracks, or anything like that in the dirt. The lady's two dogs stayed close to her, and they quickly sniffed the head and ran away, which is unusual. They're both young and would normally have, they'd been all over that day, wouldn't they? I know my Roy would. The witness didn't want to make too much of a fuss over the find, as her parents were with her. It looks like something has literally bitten the top of the head off. Her dad was a bit shocked. He kept asking what could have done it. As we know, there are many big cat reports in the area, along with bear man, Bigfoot, dogman, and baboon reports. So let's see just how many in this area alone. So within the next field over, and I mean the next field over, we have off-roaders who see red eye shine, he thumps on the car and asks what was out there. Let me get a date on this. It wasn't that long ago either. Back when I was married, we used to have a Land Rover. We like to do a lot of off-roading. So basically, they're in the Land Rover, they've got binoculars and they're scanning for eyes. One night, we turned onto the byway close to West Stow, and after driving for about 15 minutes, we stopped at a crossroads in the middle of the forest. We turned the engine off, and we sat with the windows down and the sunroof opened. We hadn't been there very long when we heard a large animal in the forest to our side. Thinking it was probably a red or fallow deer, which there are plenty in the area, I shone the torch into the forest next to me, expecting to see deer or its eye shine, but I didn't see anything. I shrugged it off and I went back to looking at the stars. The next thing I knew, there was a thud on the side of the car, and then a thud on the roof, and then thud again as a large lump of mud fell in through the sunroof of the car. And basically, she said, we looked around with the torch, and on my side, several meters into the forest, I picked up a pair of red eyes. The eye shine was about 7 or 8 feet high. Now I knew that no animal has red eyes at that height, and it really, really scared me. They turned the torch off and just got off, which is, is understandable, isn't it? But honestly, that's one lane apart, as I call it. You drive from one field past the lane and drive to the next field, and there you go. Yeah, so where does the next one come in? We've got the Eildon baboon, which we've already mentioned. So this is the one I've read out with the red eyes, is a small forest that's south of Thetford. And in Thetford, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 upright, hairy, walking creatures, described in one way or another. And you also have that predator type being that moves around, but you can't see it. You've got yellow eye shine, red eye shine, and a number of howls and wails, and that's just in Thetford Forest alone. So something is being seen in that area, and we've got reports to the south of it, We've got woodknocks to the west of it. We've got audio, big cats, and another big black lumbering thing with red eyes. So clockwise, all the way around it, there are other, what I call satellite reports. Because remember, these creatures are not in this area for all the time. Because you see them in a wood one day in March, doesn't mean they stand in that wood for the next 365 days. You've seen them as they are on the move. So they are moving from one area to another. And if the hypothesis is that they are moving to follow the deer, they will move every few weeks or so, because deer need fresh green. So they follow fresh green, and then the predator follows them. So this misnomer that when we were early man, when we just sat there all year round in and out, it's absolute nonsense. We would have had winter camps, we would have had summer, spring, and autumn camps, because each area would bring you a different resource. So why would you just sit in one place? You wouldn't. People who were good at fishing fished. People who were good at shooting arrows got birds, small game, trapped, made clothes. What you were good at is what you do. So Wink at Me said other Bigfoots who see a Gugwe will leave the area. They like to eat the young Bigfoot. So they're seen as that ferocious. That's absolutely terrifying. When you think that these reports are probably in every country of the world, because Dogman reports are in every country of the world, and Bigfoot reports are in every country of the world. And my friend JR would remind me that Dogmen and Bigfoot are often mixed up for these baboon-looking creatures that some people call adarpis, like the giant adarpis, so an upright creature on two legs with a small snout that is monkey-looking. They got opposable hands, so you got like that raccoon hand going on. I'm not sure if they got tails, because most lemur now do, don't they? So I'd have to ask JR about that one, but he always reminds me of that the creatures that are here in the UK are basically stuck on this island. There's nowhere for them to go unless they're going subterraneously and moving about and popping up in Poland or Bosnia or wherever those tunnels come out. And I was chatting today with HB about that a very small section of the tunnels have been mapped. We don't actually know all of them that are down there, And I would imagine that early man and cryptids cottoned onto them a lot longer before us humans did. So let's have a look at another area. Let's pop the word baboon in again and see where it sends us. Right, so let's go to Brass Knocker Hill and we'll see what other reports are in that area. So the ape-like beast of Brass Knocker Hill, that's 1979. If you're bored of me reading these out, just let me know in the chat. It was mid-July 79 that Ron and Betty Harper discovered that something powerful and unknown had torn the bark off their old oak tree. Also, the local animal population, including squirrels and birds, seemed to have vanished, and sightings began to surface of something prowling the area day and night. Now, think on this, is 1979. Their goat was badly frightened by something on a number of occasions. They said squirrels usually strip the top of branches, but the damage here looked as if it had been done by an animal hanging underneath the branch. The tree had been stripped of all its branches from around 20 feet up. The tooth marks that were left were around 10 to 20 times the size of a squirrel's. All the birds seemed to have gone, and the woods were silent. By the 1st of August, 50 trees had been stripped. A man driving through Monkton Combe at night also encountered an animal he described as being 3 to 4 feet tall, with bright white rings around its eyes, like a spectacled bear or a ringed lemur. I've just put that bit in, they didn't say that. The beast was never identified. Now, he doesn't say whether it was 3 to foot tall, stood upright, or 3 to foot tall, down on all fours, because he doesn't describe how it was moving. It just says he encountered an animal. Whatever the creature was, as it was described as looking like a large chimpanzee, a gibbon, a baboon, and even a bear. 81-year-old Brass Knocker Hill resident Frank Green took up a shotgun vigil at night and said, "I am very fond of some animals, but I reckon this creature could be dangerous and I'm taking no chances." By the following summer, the mystery seemed to have been solved by a policeman and he caught sight of what he said to be a large chimpanzee in the woods. "We're sure this mystery creature would turn out to be a monkey of some sort," said Inspector Mike Prince. "After all, men are from Mars, they're not hairy." Typical British police response there. But rumours of strange activity at Brassknocker Hill persisted, and many strange ape-like creatures have been reported in the area. I do not agree with that policeman. He was an absolute drill bit, in my opinion, because we have a bear-like beast at Brassknocker Hill. We have a Bigfoot report. We have howls and whoops from above it. We're less than 10, 15 miles away from the reports just above True Magna. A decent route that runs between them there. You've got the Bat Beast of Kent. You keep following these down past Stratford and Avon, and you go down past Warminster, and you're still picking up sighting reports. I've got a brand new report that's come in from just south of it, where there is a possible secret base, so we'll do more on that one. There's also a red-headed creature. And then you're on Shaftesbury, where a number of Bigfoot or wood wolf-like creatures have been seen. So let me just have a scan that. So did anyone say, please stop telling us these reports, Deborah? They're very, very boring. Hey, I know Knowsley Joe. I've got a friend who lives at near Knowsley Safari Park. Don't know. No one's asked me to stop. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm onto a good thing there, aren't I? Right, I'm just going to have some of my cup of tea. Oh, I hope you've all had a lovely day. It's been really nice here. And I know us British talk about the weather all the time, but it's been a long winter and it was lovely today. And the daisies are out and the dandelions are coming up. And that tells me we're in for some warm weather. Hi, Laura. How are you doing? Would it be okay if I shared with the guys what happened to you the other day? Just put me a yes or a no in the chat there. Oh, Philip Sheldon, you're going to have to wait. Someone's trying to join BBR, but they'll have to wait until I finish this live stream. Okay, I'm going to get it up now. I sat down to do my emails before, and I thought, oh, I've got one in from Laura. One sec. And I was like, oh my God. Right. Hi, Deb. I just thought I'd mention my drama today involving a man in the attached photo. Well, this man looks like a demented Bigfoot, doesn't he? And how much I was affected. I was driving to a local shopping centre, and on the way there's a large park that you drive past. And as I'm coming up to it, there's this figure running along, jumping around and waving a crossbow. I couldn't tell what was in his hand as he was swinging his arms around. There's a pedestrian crossing about 100 yards away, and that was on red. I slowed before I got near this person, as I wanted to get past him quickly. I found it very scary. I would find it very scary if someone's running around with a bloody crossbow. Unfortunately, everyone slowed to look at him, which caused me to stop almost level with him. He stopped jumping around and pointed the bloody crossbow at me. Afterwards, she found out it was a toy, but obviously at the time she didn't know that, yeah. So she decided to call the police, which fortunately is next to the shopping centre. And I can't say too much because I don't know how much you want me to say, but basically the armed crossbow man was related to one of the policemen. Can you imagine that? Nipping into your town centre. People say nothing happens in the UK. I don't know what I'd do. Right, the flooding is insane in North Bedfordshire. Right, are you under flood? See, where I live, it's as steep as a cow space, so you don't really get flooding until you get down to the bottom. Yeah, and we get a bit down there, so it's not so bad. But compared to other places, it is quite wet up here because of the weather, obviously. I mean, there's difference. If I go up top, we're like 1,000 feet above sea level. Me and Mark are going to go up either one night this week or one night next week and go up light enough so that I can go live and I can show you where I talk about. That's Winter Hill, that's Rivington. And this is like Angles Out where we sit and you can sit with us while we have a coffee. I can show you out to the coast and show you across to Wales. Yeah, all the way down to Cannock, you can see. So I'll pick a day when it's not cloudy, and I'll go up there. And then when we get the bad rain in spring, we'll start seeing the clouds coming in over the top. So I'll do that as well. I'll sit there for you and build, because one minute it's dead nice, and then the next minute you're literally sat in a cloud. But I don't think if you've ever experienced it, you could understand. It's an awful, amazing feeling. It's awesome. And like I've rode up there on horse with Layla, my granddaughter, just clip, clop, clip, clop, dead slow riding, just to crop up to the top of the moor. So like it'll be snowy, or it'll be I'll go up and show it you in a few different weather patterns. So I might be able to do it all on one day because it changes that quick most days. One year I went to Hull to do a talk, research and witness conference, and we set off from home, which is on one side of the Pennines, and it was dead sunny. It was lovely. And as we hit the middle of the Pennines, it was snowing sideways. And then we came out of it, and obviously you go down as you go into Yorkshire, and it was sunny again. It was really weird. And coming back, oh my God, how Mark kept that car on the road, I don't know. His muscles were shaking. The crosswind was unbelievable, and you couldn't see, but there was nowhere to stop. There's no lights out there, so you can't pull over safely. There ain't no safely until you get to the next services or home. So that's what we had to do. We just had to go. We got the lights of a truck in the headlights, and Mark just kept them, and we knew we were out of his ass. And if it slammed on, we were knackered. But everybody else was doing the same thing. It was the only way we could crest some more, and that's quite normal. Don't you think they shove some lights up there? There's a famous bit on it that most people know, because there's a really stubborn farmer up here, and when they were building the motorway, he refused to sell his land. Hey, Richard. So they had to split the farm to go around it, and it's still there. They had to build him like a subway for his cows to go underneath at fields and back. So you're just driving on the motorway. It's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. The views are beautiful, and you've just got this farm that's like, no, you'll go round there. And every time I pass it, I think there's a man who does as he pleases. It's quite famous up here. You might be able to look it up. But yeah, if I get back on subjects, I don't know, I'll get sacked. I'm not doing my job. Right. I want to pull a bear man report. Let's pull a bear man report. There's one in Rivington where I live that I know off the top of my head because I've done it so many times. So it was the 90s. And back in the 90s, wherever you live really, there wasn't, we used to rave, so there wasn't a lot of rave clubs. So it would have been like 89, 90, really early days. So we'd all meet up at Rivington Services, or Halifax, or Pontefract, somewhere like that. It was always different. And we'd go up in the car, so you put the music on dead loud. I suppose the kids still do the same thing, because I pass them at the lookout when we're going up top. And you just spend the rest of the night there, like doing what you do when you're a youngster. I've done it a million times. So this girl's doing that with her mates. And obviously she needs a pee. And she's up near the Chinese gardens at Rivington. And so she thinks, well, I'll have to get out of the car, like I'll nip into trees there, and I'll have a pee. So politely as I can put it, she's midway, and as she's midway, this thing walks out of the wood and looks at her. She said it was about 7 feet tall. It was completely covered in hair, and it had a bear's face, so like a snout, like a bear, but he was a man. And she got up and she started running, and she turned her ankle, shattered her ankle in the same kind of accident that I did. She had an Humpty Dumpty break. And like when you're a girl growing up, and the shoes I used to wear, the amount of times I turned my ankle, I can't tell you. And the doctor said it weakens it over time. You can wrench your foot so many times that when you actually have a break, it just shatters. And that's what happened to her, and that's what happened to me. And I remember a conversation she had with a friend, and he'd said, like, how did you do your legging? She's like, oh, you won't believe me. He's like, oh, go on, tell us, how did you do it? Well, back in the 90s, and she told him the story. And for me, that was the first report I found at Rivington up there. So it was the first time, really. But even though she said bear man, and I kept thinking, could it be? Could it be? You know what I mean? And me and her seeing the same thing. But I don't think so, because what I saw did not have a snout of any kind. It had a flat face like a human. He didn't even have that like sticky out mouth, like like a chimp has kind of like a sticky out mouth. You see a lot of women having fillers at the minute, and they look like it got a monkey's mouth, don't they? Well, it wasn't like that. It was like a human thing, like a human mouth that I saw, and kind of like human square teeth. But she described a bear. Let me have the River Wye. 1 second. Mike Wright just asked me if I've got anything from the River Wye. Let me have a see. I will have because of the Wye Valley. A lot of reports in the Wye Valley. 1 second. See, straight away there's a dogman one. Right, the River Wye in Wales. I was waiting for him to tell me. Cheltenham. Right, that makes it easy for me. Thank you. Aye. Right, let's have a look. Oh, God, no, there's a black-eyed adult. Actually, I can't stand the idea of that. Further down, right, so I've got to go just above where the estuary is ending. So we're looking at Hardwick, Quedgeley, that kind of area. We've got what was described as a red-eyed hedge monster. And I think that were in the 90s. Let me just pull it up. Yeah, 1991. So similar time to the woman who seen the bear man. They called it the hedge monster. Right. At the time, I was 18 and into festivals like rave lifestyle, and we'd be pretty nomadic. We lived in old vans that we'd convert from anything we could adapt, like coaches and caravans. We'd usually live some pretty extreme places out of the way. So we're in Stroud, Gloucestershire, he says. It's a bit of a nippy town, a bit like Glastonbury. We didn't get much hassle from the local people or the old bill. We parts up in different groups, just varied in numbers. They could be between 6 to 40 vehicles, depending on where we were. But one site had over 250 buses and vans. Then this night, all this happened was no different than any other night, or I should say, it started no differently than any other. I remember it was a cold autumn night, and me and my friend Wayne decided to go and get some food. We were living on Haresfield Beacon, which is set on top of an escarpment. There's a large old woodland, and it has very rugged land around it. We had to drive from our camp to go and get food, so we jumped in the car and set off. I was driving about 40 miles per hour because it was foggy, and we both knew the road like the back of our hands. The road was clear, but then 50 yards in front of us, from the left to the right, walked this tall, and I mean very tall man, came flying over the wall. This was it was a 5-foot Cotswold stone wall. This thing ran in front of the car and it looked at us. We were coming up on it fast, and when we were 40 yards and closing, it didn't care. It just didn't care that we were there. It took one step, then two, and looked at us head on, and its eyes were glowing red. On the third step, it jumped over the stone wall on the other side of the road. We slammed on the brakes, but he'd already jumped. That wall was about 6 foot, and it covered the road in 3 steps. How's that possible? We both looked at each other and said at the same time, "What the fuck was that?" I don't know. I don't know what to call it or how to even explain what it was. All I can say is it was at its smallest 7 feet tall, but it wasn't big. It was very skinny. We had to carry on. We went down to the shop with us both talking to each other about what the fuck was that we saw? Why had it shown itself? It felt like that was a bad thing. That why didn't it just hide until we'd gone? We saw it had red eyes, and you could see those clearly. It was just freaky. And as we drove, we talked on and on about it. And on the way back, we got out of the car where we'd seen it. I had a big security mag light in the car, and I wanted to see how it had just vanished over that wall. We shone the light, and the wall had no stile in it for this thing to pass through. And it must have jumped the wall moving at speed. We set off puzzled about what had happened back to the site. Over the next 5 weeks, the red-eyed thing was seen by other people living in the vans in different parts of the area. We worked out it was like a 20-mile radius from our site that the red eyes in the hedge were seen, and some people would say it was just watching you. So it was moving around in that 20-mile radius. After a bit of time, it just sort of became a rural legend that was witnessed by other travellers living in the area. It was spotted watching them from the shadows or the tree line. But me and my mate Wayne saw it run in front of the car. It was about 80 yards. And as I said, it jumped that stone wall and vanished. That's quite frightening, that. I mean, hi, a lot, Beard. How are you doing? I mean, my pirate flag. Put your pirate flag back up. Oh, YouTubers, you're complete idiots, aren't they? The crap that's out there and they moan at you for the strangest of things. So, yeah, right, imagine that, right? You're on a lonely farm road. We know how bendy it is in the UK, don't we? Roads where you can't pass two cars, so you've got to pull into a little lay-by to let them come past. It's dark, and 80 feet in front of you as you're driving, something about 7 foot tall, completely black in colour, jumps over the stone wall, steps 2 steps into the road, looks at you with red eyes, and then jumps over the opposing wall. Don't think I'd be hanging around for that one. Think I'd be off. So let's have a look what's near it. Now, the problem I've got in Cheltenham is the amount of bloody big cat reports that come in. Because let's be honest, there's thousands of them down there, and they've been coming in since before the 1970s. Some of the reports are 50s and 60s. We've got reports of strange howls. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cat reports around just above Dursley alone. What we need to be looking at in this area is the estuary. There's anything flesh and blood that needs to feed will be close to that estuary. And it is. On either side of it, you've got Dogman reports, Bigfoot reports, Black Shuck reports, Big Cat reports, strange UFOs, all manner of strange and wonderful beasts. But we're looking at something that would pass as a Gugwe. So have I got anything on there that's snouted? No. A lot of MOD land down there as well, if I remember rightly. Let's have a look at this one. Right. I just returned from a break in the Forest of Dean. It was August 2020. My daughter and I were cycling on a common path through the woods up to Simmons Yat, and we were astounded to see a wolf standing right in the middle of the pathway. We cycled closer. It wasn't afraid of us. Calmly trotted into the woods when we were no more than 3 or 4 metres away. I'm a dog owner, and I know huskies. This definitely was not one of them. I thought they might be common. Didn't think any more of it until I googled it when I got home. There aren't any wolves in Britain. Seems these sightings are extremely rare. But I can tell you, I know what we saw that day. There is a report of a wolf in Paul Kemet in Scotland. Police officer saw a wolf herding sheep. Joe would know. Joe, are there, and I know there were wolf sanctuaries in the UK because my niece worked at one, but are there any captive releases? Have we, as a nation, released any wolves into the natural environment? Joe might know that one. Because if I put wolf up, it'll tell me all the reports I've got, not of wolf men, but of actual wolves. Yeah, police officer sees a huge wolf. A mystery beast has been spotted near the river at Bolter's Lock in Maidenhead. PC Gail Emtage, who was on a late night burglary patrol, said she was cycling along the river near Raymead Road when she saw the creature that she thought was a large, shaggy wolf. She said, it was so big that my first thought that it must be a St. Bernard, as it loped across the road just 20 feet ahead of me. It was clearly illuminated by the street lightning, and I could see it had the appearance of a huge wolf. There was no doubt in my mind it was solid and real. She said the beast had an air of arrogance and almost human intelligence. She said its eyes terrified her, adding, they glowed with an intense yellow-green luminosity and fixed their glare on me for several seconds. Shaded. They were like 2 torch beams and nothing like any dog I'd ever seen before. Bloody Nora. See, there are a number of dogman reports around this one. What if we are dealing with a bloody flesh and blood creature that is... Oh, that's where Mike does his investigation. That's like a baboon. Looks like a baboon. And that's what people are seeing and that's what people are reporting. What I'll do this week is I'll look into anything I've got where it talks about a creature walking on its knuckles. I know a lot of reports I can think off the top of my head where we've got this knuckle walking thing going on. One of the Mirza jumps out straight away. A couple who saw what they described as a gorilla walking on its knuckles. Forest Dean gorilla. Same thing, where the creature is seen walking on its knuckles. I'm just having a look at... But anyone listening back, I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep up with the chat at the same time. What was Philip saying? Classy Gleam let me on about the hyena of sharp muzzles. I've got a hyena report in Bridge North. A chap in a car driving down a country lane. Let me pull it up for you. Saw a hyena, 2015. And he described it as looking like an African strand wolf. So I'll just read it. Hi, Debbie. Just a quick message regarding that hyena sighting I had on Bridge North Road a few years back now. The only thing I can say is the sighting was between Trescott and Rufton along the A road there. We were driving along when the animal, and he distinctly said animal, ran across the road in front of the car. Regarding this hyena sighting, the only thing that I can add to this is the direction it ran from. As the animal ran in front of my car, I did notice a large country house in the distance. It may have escaped from there, possibly. It happened around midday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. The house in question must have been about 1.5 miles away, maximum. Within a mile on that same road, let me pull this one up, is where Polly saw the creature that she described as, at first, she thought it was a shire horse. It was last summer when it was absolutely roasting. So, like most of us dog walkers were taking the dogs out really late at night. And Mark was doing the same with Roy. She was also visiting a family member and seeing to her. So, to combine the two, she'd go see to the family member and leave about 1 a.m. And Stapleford's way out in the countryside. It's in the Midlands. So you got lots of winding country lanes. If you're not from England and you think of England and you think of the Cotswolds and all, that's what it looks like. Yorkshire Dales, that kind of thing. So there's a set of traffic lights, temporary lights. And if you're in the UK, you are so used to doing as you're told that you sit and wait on them, even if it's 2 a.m. and no other cars around. And believe me and Mark have done the same thing and then looked at each other and gone, why are we sat here waiting for the lights to change? There's not another car around for 10 miles. You just do, don't you? It's force of habit. A couple of nights prior, each time she'd reached that corner where the temporary lights were, she felt a bit of trepidation. Like, hiya, Mr. Lee, how are you doing? It's lovely to see you here. You'll know all the places I'm mentioning. So she's in the car, she comes around the corner and she thinks, oh shit, them lights are on green. If I go no, they were on red. And if I go really, really slow, they'll change in time for me to zoom past there. But unfortunately, that did not happen. So she's driving towards the light. She picks up in the mirror what she described as, she said, oh, Jesus, thought it was a shire horse. And my first thought was, oh my God, it's going to get hit on the road. So being a horse person like me, she thought, I'll get me lights on it. I'll park out the way, put my hazards on, get me lights on it and see if I can just stirrup it and get it out of there. You're like, come on, get it out and then phone the police and police will know local farmer. Normally when they get out, they don't go far, do they? They're just looking for a mare or some fresh grass to eat or a bit of water. And there was a really small river that went underneath the bridge where the lights were. And she's looking at this creature, and she said, I can see like this, looks like this really thick leg on this Shire horse. And I'm thinking, Jesus, is a big one. Like, Shire horse is about 17, 18 hands. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I can ride 18 hands, 19 hands, and they're big horses. And it steps out from the tree. And she said, what I was looking at as a leg and what I thought was like the trunk of the tree was actually its body. And I realised it was on two legs. It walked across the road in front of the car and into the forest on the other side and away. Didn't really do anything with her, but that was frightening enough. So she realises that she's got every window open in the car because it's red hot and the dog's in the back. And she said, I know it was dead big, but in my head I'm thinking, what if it jumps in the car? What if it jumps in the car? So she just bolted it home. Absolutely bolted it home. And she was terrified. So you've got a woman, it's a dark night, she's on a country road, she's seen something she can't explain, and it's absolutely terrifying her. And hopefully we're thinking, well, that's the end of that, it's just this one off. But it didn't. It ended up in a series of events, and things started happening around the home and everything. It all went a bit dark there for a while. But that was a report. You asked me about that area, and I delivered the Stablesman Dogman. It's also just off the River Avon, I noticed. I fished that with my dad a lot. Wherever you are in the UK, if you've got a river and an estuary, there are a cluster of reports around it. Now, that could be that, like I said before, if we're looking at a flesh and blood creature that's just a baboon, it's going to need water and it's going to need food sources. So go between the woodlands and the coast and you've tripled what you need, right? Regardless of what kind of mammal you are, that's where you're going to find your food sources. You'd have to bypass towns. See, I can't see it just being an ape, a baboon. Realistically, that's what my brain says it's got to be. It's got to be on it. The odds of it being anything else are intrinsically high. The odds of it being a primate that we don't know about are still massively high, but more understandable. You can kind of get your head through it, can't you? Bedfordshire. Oh, Bedfordshire wears, that's where Fred's from. I'm just clicking on Bedfordshire Golf Club and we'll start from there. Right, Newport Pagnell. Andy Booth, if you guys know as Andy Decodes, he's driving along the road one day because he lives in that area, and he said, "You do the route like all the time, and there's kind of a system when you're out in the farm fields. If you're going around a blind corner and you can't see, you give them a toot, or if you're coming out in a junction and you can't see because of the bend in the road, just toot your horn because anyone coming will toot your horn back at you, and you have to do that up here." So it's just something you do, right? So he said he's driving along and he sees movement on this tree, something scurrying up the tree. He said, I look back and like, you know, when you do that, like Scooby-Doo, and you rub your eyes and you look back again. He said, and I don't know if it was a series of small things or one big thing, but it looked like that predator out of the film, and it went up that tree. Right. So I need Steve's permission. Can I talk, Steve, about, not in depth, I just want to name the two cases that you sent to me today in email? Because Newport Pagnell, I know for a fact without even looking on my map, is not that far away. And I don't want to jump in and say him because it's Steve's reports and I don't want to step on his door. Oh, right, brilliant, absolutely. Right, there's my bedroom. Look outside, you can prove I'm in bed, there's my feet. I can't get my legs going today. They won't work at all. I've had me what do you call them? I hate them. I call them my stirrups. My caliper things. Can't even get them on. My legs are that sort of can't even get them on. So I can't even stand up. So I'm like the Tim Manning. Flipping. Wizard of Oz at the minute with my legs. Oh, I'm fine. My mouth makes up for it, Tricky. Whatever I am weak in body, my mouth makes up for, believe me. Or my husband will say, oh, Mr. Lee lives on the Medway. Mr. Lee, I'll do the Medway next, but are you sure that you want me to do it? Because along the Medway River, there are 16 strange creature reports. But let me just do the Bedfordshire ones. Right. So you've got Andy, Newport Pagnell. He's seen this kind of predator type being running up a tree. He actually said, I thought, I've got to be seeing things. It's got to be rain, or it's got to be like mist or something, and it's or there's something in there like a mylar balloon, and it's affected my sight. So when you're a driver, it's a regular route in it. So he thought I'll see it again. I'll see it again, kind of thing. Very close to that, you've got two reports, and these are where my conversations today started about Gugwe and Gug Wose, as we would say here. So let me just pull up I need to pull up I've got my map up, but I don't put everything on the map until it's ready to go on. So I just need to pull these notes up while I can get. Right, we'll do the Beast of Cops corner. Right. I'm not giving you all these details, right? Because I'm giving away my secrets here and I shouldn't be doing it. But basically, January 2022, you've got Steve and a number of other researchers out, right? And let me see, we're walking towards a race circuit, and I kept thinking about he'd seen a strange strip. So Silverstone race circuits down there, right? But I want to get to the bit about the creature. Give me a sec while I get to it. Right. So basically, without giving too much away, I could tell this was a bit of a spot, and I waited quietly there to pinpoint where it was and what I was listening to. The land dipped down to the left into a small valley, and then it rose up. It was mildly windy. I then looked around and went down to check for tracks in the leaf ball. I was in between two crude structures. Then something small got lobbed, thrown at me, if you're an American. Oh, have I missed it, haven't I? Steve, I don't want to read it out and give it all away. The most noticeable thing to me was the shoulder and arm. It was straight out behind it, horizontally, a little bit over a horizontal branch. Can you pop in the chat what you thought it was? When I've got my vertigos going mental, I can't read properly. Like all the words start to swim into one. Struggling with it in a minute. I have a condition called Irlen syndrome. It's something you're born with, kind of dyslexia. So when I look at the written word, I see the rivers between the words. I have to get my brain to concentrate on the ink and not the white lines. And this vertigo just throws me out of whack. I can't do it. Ah, right. I'd go check out the journey on the way back. I checked to the left and saw nothing, and then checked to the right and I saw this rough tree structure. I didn't see anything in the crude structure of the tree and the branches until this dark figure leapt up and darted off to my left. The most notable thing to me was the shoulder and the arm. So you're telling me that it had a normal arm and a normal shoulder? So that is in the same area as the secondary report. And this is what Steve had called the Gugwe. Let me pull him up. Got all my notes open and my laptop is not my friend at the moment. Right. So they're out and they've heard this mumbling sound. What I heard is this weird mumbling sound, and it was swooping in as it had come from a hole in the air, like in the tree line, like someone muttering to themselves. I do get reports of that. People saying they can hear like conversations, but they can't make out the words or the noises. So let's jump across to the Medway, because the Medway is really easy for me because it's right on the estuary. We got the Isle of Grain, you got like Kitts County, that kind of area, and you got the Thames estuary as well, all in the same place. So in 2016, there was a reporting from a farmer who lives on the Isle of Grain, Mr. Lee. And he said that, let me get it right, get your description for it. One of the other farmers on there had been moaning about some tall, hairy, upright creature that looked like a cross between a man and an ape that was walking upright on two legs. and it was annoying him on the farm. It was like banging on the caravan and taking things, really. He said he didn't know what this creature was, but he saw it leaning over a Ford Escort van, and it wasn't standing straight, it was hunched over, and the top of the van still only came up to the top of the stomach on this thing. Then, about, what, 3 mile away, 2 mile away, in Cooling, 2011, you got 2 lads out in the field early morning rabbiting, and they see what they described as a tall, hairy man who had a mane of hair running through the fields, really. And at one point, they'd seen him running over the haystacks as if he was looking for mice in there or something. Seen them, jumped on the haystacks and run off. But then you've got this line of reports that follows the River Medway. So the next one that comes in is the Kent werewolf. Now, that happened in the 1940s, and it was a young courting couple in the woods, and she said that it looked like a werewolf all covered in hair